Money, money, money. Let's talk about money, money, money. Isn't it funny talking about money? Tried to make that rhyme. Didn't really work. Anyway, I think it's funny to talk about money because it's one of those subjects that's considered so taboo. But why? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about money. And I love talking about money because for me, money is so spiritual. I even created a course, Money is Spiritual, because I feel that it is a master teacher. Money holds master codes for us. The healing we do around money is generational, ancestral. We heal so much trauma. We heal so many wounds and triggers when it comes to writing our relationship with money. And I mean RIGHTING. When we write our relationship with money, we go through a massive ascension and transformational process because we've had lives of poverty, of peasantry. We've had lives and so many different ways connected to money. And so it's fascinating that we humans created this thing called money. It's just created. And it's fascinating to see that we all have a different relationship. And it's also fascinating to see that the majority of the world lives paycheck to paycheck. And that a lot of people are in debt. It's like, what is this thing with money, right? And it's fascinating that it's just an energy. So why is there so much charge around it? So I love speaking on these topics. And so if you're joining us today for the first live of the live series, welcome. There's also 3 other videos that maybe you saw this week, maybe not. We talked about power, we talked about sex, and we talked about authentic expression. And today is about money. And I want to speak specifically to those of us who are here. You know you're here. And if you saw my post today, as one of the conscious millionaires and billionaires here to co-create the new earth, you know that money is a part of your codes. You know that infinite abundance is our birthright. You know that it is your destiny. And so what is that thing? What is it between you living that destiny now and where you are now? And it's all perfect. Like where you are right now is perfect on your journey. And so what is it? Why does money have this charge around it? And so as I mentioned, some of the things, it could be because we inherited money blocks, thinking, ways of being, even the traumas and wounds of our ancestors we inherit. Unhealed trauma. So if you experience something in your, like I once had a client, and this I remember so vividly, she didn't even realize, we ended up doing a timeline healing and her parents were ripped off by someone. And she had this charge in her body around money from when she was a young girl because she witnessed in front of her eyes as a little girl, her parents discovering they were ripped off by someone and all of their money was gone, right? That charge can affect your nervous system. So something so simple like money could then have this massive effect where you could think like, oh my God, is it even safe? Also, if we have curses, spells, hexes, cords, other people's energies, all of that can affect our money program. Just like the programs in society, like any scarcity or lack programs, we take that in. You know that saying, like money doesn't grow on trees, and all these lack responses in relationship to money that can totally distort our field. And that's why I love the topic of money, because it keeps us on our healing and ascension path. To reach higher and higher levels of income and financial prosperity and abundance, it requires us to do the work, to heal, to continue to come into greater wholeness, to continue to operate from higher and higher states of consciousness, frequency, and abundance. And the thing that's really interesting too is like abundance and money are different things. So you could absolutely be living an abundant life and still not have as much money in the bank as you would like to feel even more abundant. They're different. They're different frequencies. Even though money is under the abundance umbrella, they're also mutually exclusive. And when we are talking about full mastery, full enlightenment, this means you coming into that right relationship with money. And I truly believe that true mastery is when you can make as much money as you want. And the sky is the limit. Because anything other than that would be a limitation on yourself. And any limitations on yourself are you not fully embodying your ultimate potential and your full mastery. And so it's okay. Again, like I said, like have full compassion for where you're at. This is information for you that you could choose to do whatever it is you want with this information. And also, as we do our money work and we share our gifts with the world in a bigger way, this causes us to come fully online and allows us to become fully seen and requires us to share our work with the world in a bigger way, which that's amazing. Because we came here to be fully realized, fully expressed. And oftentimes the money is just a measure for how much you're sharing your gifts, how authentically you're sharing. And also, I feel that it's a measure if you're doing it in right relationship with your true blueprint. Because everyone is unique. So the strategy for one person's life is not the strategy for another. The strategy for one person's business is not the strategy for another person's business. And you get to create whatever you want in life, love, and business. That's my true, full-hearted motto and belief when it comes to reality creation and why we're even on this planet. And for some of us, we're here to co-create the new earth, and that requires money so we can fund it. So what I mean by that too is so often we're allowing other people to affect our life creation and affecting forces outside of us to affect our circumstance. So for example, it's like if you're always relying on the government to pay for things, to create systems. You know, we've seen what's going on with the election. We've seen what has happened in our world, in our country, when we just leave it up to the government. What about taking that power back into your hands? And I know myself, I'm here to co-create the new earth, and that doesn't mean I have to follow any systems. I broke out of the matrix when I stopped being a medical doctor, and now I get to create whatever reality I desire. And I now find myself in a place on an island where other people think like me. And here we're creating our new earth. And so to be able to fund regenerative farming or nature-based schools or whatever stores or places or whatever we want to experience, we can just do it ourselves. We don't need the government. We don't need permission from someone else. We have our own sovereignty and our own permission. And money does give us freedom, so why not have as much as possible? So it's so important to clear the programming and the collective consciousness connection, and just the connection that like having a lot of money doesn't mean you're spiritual or anything like that, because the opposite is true in fact. The more money you have, I believe it shows the higher level of your spirituality, because anything that you're rejecting or have wound or trauma around is not fully integrated. And to come into full wholeness, that's the microcosm of the macrocosm of the wholeness of the universe. So fully coming into right relationship, love, embrace, embodiment of whatever's in our 3D reality, which includes money. For me, I see it as a reflection of where you are with that. And when we look at spiritual masters, like the Dalai Lama flies private everywhere. Paramahansa Yogananda, he found the resources to create centers all around the world. And similarly, I think he had like Rolls Royces or whatever. Like he was definitely driving like luxury cars and like living in a nice house in LA. And these are spiritual teachers. I know other high level spiritual teachers who have millions and millions of dollars. Like money's just not even a thing. And so I like to bridge it from both sides. So for those of you already on a spiritual path, wanting to receive even more money, it's an invitation into your ascension path even more. And then for those of you who have money and you've yet connected to your spirituality, up-leveling it to conscious wealth brings so much more opportunity and writes your karma in so many different ways. And you get to expand your pleasure experience when you're co-creating something like the new earth and you're co-creating with others. And it's not so much about the hoarding it for yourself, but it's about how can you share it with the world in a way to leave an even bigger legacy that means something for generations to come, so that you are responsible for changing the very fabric of existence. So I'm really interested too in like those of us that feel and know we're here to co-create the new earth and be the conscious millionaires and billionaires, because this is a different kind of money. And then someone writes, I understand your idea, but there is not so simple. So I would love for you to elaborate on that, because it is simple. Money is simple. It's not simple when you have it entangled in trauma and wound and you make it mean all these different things. Like money in itself is neutral, as many of you know. It's we as humans give it the definition. And anytime you have a charge, an emotional charge around something, as a spiritual healer, that's showing me that you have something to heal around it. So I'm just going to take a look at some of your other comments, because I was just in the flow of talking. Okay, so I see people from all over the world. So foundational in my work is that I always have clients, whether in my women's programs or in my one-to-one work, choose a money goal. I feel that it's so important for you to have your eye on where you're going next. That shows us where your soul, your body, your being wants to expand into. And it's like telling your field what work you have next to do. So for example, because what I observed going from 5-figure months to $100,000 months, I noticed my fears and worries were different. When I reached $100,000 a month status, I started having these fears that people were going to take advantage of me. And I remember part of what kicked that off too is moving to Malibu. I felt like, oh my gosh, people are going to charge me more because I live in Malibu, right? And so I was creating lack and scarcity, and I had fear of wealth because I didn't want to be taken advantage of. So do you see how all of that needs to be healed and cleared up? Because especially if you want to go into $1 million months and be a billionaire, right? And then I know I've even started to have that too, of like, then you start having to think like, well, where do I store my money? Because most banks only protect you for like $250,000 in the banks. And you're like, hey, do I start having like all these different bank accounts? How much do I put into crypto? How much do I put into real estate, right? So it goes on and on and on, which I think is awesome, because it's requiring you to expand your capacity to hold. You become a bigger person when you're thinking in this way, right? You have all this money now to invest, to do good in the world. I even learned then about these tax breaks. If you can buy protected land. So you get to do good with this money too and create the earth you want to see. So I'm just going to, I saw something. I understand your idea, but it's not so simple. Okay, yeah, we said that. So I invite you, okay. So I created these series of lives on money, power, sex, authentic expression, because you are here to live your fullest potential. You are here to operate in your power, to express yourself in the world however you like, which means creating whatever business you want, whatever kind of love you want. Literally design every aspect of your life. And if you are not doing that, to the max right now. It's an opportunity. If not now, when? And right now I'm enrolling for my one-to-one work. I created some new packages. I have 2 intro options, as well as 6 month and a year, which goes even deeper. And for women, there's also the opportunity for the group work inside of my newest women's program. And I'm so passionate about activating people into their highest potential. That's partly why I left Western medicine, because we are complete with the victim mentality. We are complete with letting programs and people and energies outside of ourselves control our life and decide what gets to happen. You get to create anything you want. Like, you can make millions of dollars in your robe creating an online business if that's what you desire to do. You can open up any type of shop, share your gifts in any kind of way. If you have talents, gifts, you've overcome something, like, anyone can have a business. I actually recommend everyone to work for themselves so that you are not at the mercy of any person. We easily saw in the pandemic that people thought like, oh yeah, if I have a job with a consistent paycheck, then I'm safe. And then so many people saw how their jobs were just like poof, gone when there was a pandemic. So take the power back into your hands. And I love supporting people who have businesses. I love supporting people who want to create their business or expand on that. And it's totally cool too if you're doing multiple things, right? You don't have to put all your eggs in one basket. And the more we can empower people to take back their power, then there's less of that ceiling. You're not capped at a salary. You can make as much money as you want. You can be a mom with children and stay at home and take care of your kids and run $1 million business. It gets to be that simple. You get to make your own hours. You get to do something that you love so much that it doesn't even feel like work. Everyone gets to do that. Men, women, everyone. And I just want to speak that to you so clearly, because remember, I left Western medicine. I left being a doctor, which is one of the safest, I don't see it so much as like, oh, the epitome of a job, but at the time when I went into it, and I still think a lot of people revere like doctors, lawyers, all these types of jobs as like safe and secure. And I remember like having $500,000 a year. It's like I made more money in that year than I would have as a doctor. So it's important for you to remember, what are you wanting to create? Even if it seems like this far off goal, and even if you're already on the path and you're like, I just want consistent 100K months. I just want $1 million month. I want to have $10 million in my bank account, or just an asset so I feel cush and relaxed. Even though that's not the thing that gets you to relax, but that's a whole other topic. And so I love this work. I love activating people to feel the possibilities, to live the possibilities, to live your ultimate potential. And I invite you to reach out to work with me. I have my one-to-one spots. I have the women's program. Get in my DMs, message me. I would love to support you. Big kiss to you. And maybe we'll have I think we're going to have a day 5 tomorrow of lives. And so I'll see you there as well. And if you haven't checked out the first 3 lives, I recommend you go back and do that. Go to my past posts. And I will see you soon. Thank you for being here. Bye for now.